Today, my guest is Philomene. Oh my goodness, 𝗏𝗏𝗂𝗏𝗂𝘁. See, you guided me on that, and I still couldn't do it. 𝗏𝗏𝗂𝘁. Sorry, Philomene 𝗏𝗏𝗂. And Philomene, if you cannot guess by the name, Philomene is in France, and she has so many things to share. Philomene has her own podcast, and she has a blog or a newsletter that she sends out. Her podcast is called, in English, A Touch of Creativity to Change Everything. But how do you say that in French, Philomene?
Une touche de créativité pour tout changer.
Yeah, I could never pull that off. Good job. And thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Grounded in Maine today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm so thrilled for this conversation. We've been chatting beforehand, of course, but there's so many things that are just so inspiring to me that you do, that just the way that you are and the way that you think. You're just very mindful about a lot of things. But so Philomene she has two children. Did you say two children?
Yes, I have two boys.
Two children, yeah. And she is married, and she homeschools her children, and they also practice no waste.
Yes.
Or zero waste.
Zero waste, yeah.
As well as so many other things. But so zero waste, I'm curious, Philomene, how did that come about?
So the way it started, I think we were in California at the time. We were living in Berkeley, and there was this person who was, she wrote a book, I believe, and I had never heard of that way of living. When we were living in Berkeley, there were a lot of shoppings, like the big places where we're doing our shopping, that had bulk sections and everything, which was fairly new to us, especially in that quantity and that amount of different things that were available in bulk. So we were already buying in bulk things, and we had like the bags and everything, like fabric bags and everything to use that. But then, yeah, I found out about that book, and I heard the message about, taking things further and really trying to be intentional in not producing any waste and like not buying packaging. And that really resonated. I felt, okay, so I think it's a good thing to do to move forward. So yeah, So I tried to look at what I was buying and just go more and more in to the bulk sections. In Berkeley, they also collected the compost, so we didn't have that part to. Yeah, Berkeley is like a very ecological city. It's great. They have so many things in place. I was living in Paris before that, and that was not the same at all. So we had done a big jump forward already, just moving into California. And then, yeah, it was just like one step after another one. We had things in place already, and then it was like becoming conscious about everything we were using and looking at what we're producing, like packaging and things like that, finding an alternative. So yeah, I guess it was really being conscious about the thing, and as opposed to just doing it before. The moment we realized, okay, we produce that much packaging, and then okay, that's a lot. How can we change things? And yeah, it was one step at a time. And but again, in Berkeley, there were already so much available that it was quite easy at the time to do that transition. Mm-hmm. And then we moved back to France, and then we live in a much smaller city. And there are options, but then you need to really make the right decisions. It's not as easily offered. You need to consider what you're buying, where you're buying it from. And I decided to also take things a little further, not just be zero waste, but also to really try to consume produces that were local. So I found all the farms next to me, found a shop that was at a farm, actually. So it's like a producer that's reselling other farms in his farm. So we go there and there are like, I don't know, maybe 10 producers that are resold in this farm. So we can buy everything local, and it's great because it's also sold in like glass packaging and things like that. So they collect the glass again. So it's like circular. It doesn't need it to even be recycled. It's just washed, reused.
Brought back.
Yeah, and brought it back. It just made sense. And it really felt like, I don't know, like my grandparents were kind of living, you know, it felt like, okay, it's going back to the way it used to be. And it was just great, actually. There was no need to move forward. And it doesn't ask me any more work. You know, like collecting the glass, it goes into the dishwasher and it goes back to the farm the next week. It's okay. It's no big deal. The only things that needed adjustment, I guess, were like having the produce bags and things like that. Like you need to get enough to be able to do your shopping and not run out and things like that. And also have them with you. That's a big thing. Like,
always.
Yeah. Making sure you've got your bag into the car with you, ready to use the produce bags and everything. And have like a few jars and like glass boxes as well to put any produce, like fresh produce sometimes that need a box. But yeah, it's just like, I guess it was like a few steps at a time, like doing that and then implementing a little more and then moving forward with something else. And eventually, I think we're doing pretty good now. I think our trash gets collected, I don't know, maybe something like every 3 months or something. So
3 months.
Yeah, 3 months. And we've got it's a small also trash can. So I'm pretty happy with that. So it's not zero waste completely, but
really low.
We're a family of 4. So I think it's okay.
That was what struck me so much. Like, it's like, for me, I could, like I was telling you, I could probably swing it myself. But having one other person would just throw that out the window. But you have 3 other people besides you, and you're managing once every 3 months having trash picked up, and it's a small bag. So that's really, really impressive to me. And it's so wonderful that you're teaching your children that.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. My kids were brought into that, you know, they were like, they were raised with that. They grew up in Berkeley. They've never consumed like heavy packaging foods. Well, you know, they were brought up like eating kale, you know, Berkeley kids. So, so I guess it was easy. Like, I don't have that struggle to fight with them to say, oh, no, let's not eat that because, you know, it produces a lot of packaging. A lot of the time, they're just like, yeah, it doesn't taste like real food. We'd rather have like some freshly made cake or something. They actually would prefer that option. They're curious. They will try, you know, packaged food, like if we're somewhere and they don't want to be left out, obviously, but they
it's just
don't
not the
ask
same.
for it.
Yeah.
So that makes things easier.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you're raising this new generation of people to carry on that message and that mindset, which is beautiful. I mean, it's so needed that our generation, our parents' generation, like we all grew up with the convenience foods and all the things that make things so convenient for us, but we are also shooting ourselves in the feet with purchasing and packaging and just all the bells and whistles that go with that. I mean, Amazon is, I use Amazon, but it bothers me to use it.
Yeah, so
I try not.
It was a decision we made when we moved to France, and I have been a very big Amazon user. I'm not gonna lie. When I was living in the US, I had the Amazon Prime delivered and everything. Definitely using it. And then when we moved to France, I realized the impact it had on the environment and on the people as well, the social impact, like the conditions of the workers. It really, I don't know, it really struck a chord. Like it really felt deeply. And then I thought, okay, well, I have to align myself with that and stop, you know, have to put my actions where my words are. So I stopped, and I think I've used it. Let's be honest, I've probably used it a couple of times since, but that's probably it since 2017, and that was only for options that I couldn't find anywhere else, and I still felt really bad about it.
Right.
But again, I don't blame anyone for using it. I just think it's like it was a path. It took me time to get to that, and now I'm happy. I have other options. They don't, it's not less. They're good enough. It does a job, and that's great. So I don't miss it.
Right. I mean, my point was just that we grew up with all the convenience things,
Yeah.
and we have to recondition ourselves to, like unlearn what we grew up with, to appreciate what we have, to eat better, to take care of ourselves. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing
No,
to
we
do.
have to recreate the habits, to recreate the new ways of doing it. And if you think about it, it's only been, the way, like the mainstream way, it's only been like that for like, I don't know, maybe 50 years, 70 years. It's not long at all. My grandparents, they had already, like, they still had like a lot of options that were a lot more sustainable. And if you think about it, it's not long ago.
Right.
It's only like mainly, I would say, my parents' generation, my generation, and that's pretty much it. Before that, it was good options.
Right. Right. You have to make it or grow it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's my way of seeing
or
things.
purchase from friends.
Oh yeah, local options are great because the local people that make things, they also need to live, and it's great economy. So I'm okay with that. Like when we moved to France, I had the plan to try to make everything. Literally, I was like thinking, okay, I want to learn to make everything and be self-sufficient in every area. And I did learn a lot of things, and it worked for a lot of things. But eventually, I was just doing so much, and that was a lot of pressure as well. And it was good to take a step down and think, okay, well, maybe I can do everything, but maybe I don't have to do everything.
That is the point. Like, yes, I mean, for me, it's I could probably swing a lot of things. I could probably do a lot of things. I don't want to do a lot of things. So it's good. It's also good to support others. If everyone's doing something, support each other.
Yeah, and the local community around you, there are some great talents out there, and it's also great to support them and to also be part of the community and talk to them, and it's very nice.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. Okay, so that was Zero Waste. Talk to us about the podcast, please, because I love this. And so anyone who has grown up speaking French or speaks French, her podcast is in French, so you can get a lot of good practice in. My husband is taking French. I think I told you that. He's not taking French. He's learning French through an app. And I think I showed him one of your posts, and I was like, what does she say? And he's like, I have no idea. Because it was just a lot faster than doing one word at a time.
Yeah, so I don't speak very fast, I believe, in French. I know one of my friends she's teaching French in a podcast, actually, and she's recommending my podcast to her students because apparently it's good practice. So if your husband wants to try. But yeah, basically it started with a conversation with friends. She was saying like, oh, you try so many things, you always have ideas, like creative ways of putting things together and making it sound fun. Like, why don't you want to share it to more other people? Like it's just us, and it seems a bit unfair. And she was like, okay, how could you get your message out? And I wasn't too sure because I do listen to a lot of podcasts, but then I felt really conscious and shy about talking, live and like be there like my voice. I can listen to others, but I was thinking, no way, I can't talk
Absolutely.
myself.
Yeah. I get tired of hearing myself talk. Absolutely.
So that was a big jump, but eventually she was like, oh, go on, do it, do your podcast. And kind of as a dare, I just recorded one with my phone microphone, and I just put it out, and I got such great feedback from it. So it was very encouraging, and decided to carry on. So basically, in the subjects I covered, I'm covering in there are probably all linked to lifestyle, like slow lifestyle, and how to live a fun life, but which is also eco-conscious, I guess, like to find a good alternative, like that impact positively the environment, or also the people around you, because it's another subject that I touch. But not necessarily, making the sacrifice of, doing something that feels terrible to you, or,
Right.
like finding the options that are also fun and sustainable, and the one that impact positively the people around you and you also, because
Right.
that's
Right.
the fun part. Yeah, it goes all hand in hand, really, taking care of yourself, taking care of the community around you, taking care of the environment. It all works together, which is great.
Right. And so you are finding ways to create fun, like to make sustainability fun and enjoy what you're doing and your environment and stuff like that, which I think is so important, because so we were talking about doing all the things, like, completely doing it, making everything, and how you could totally do it. You would hate it after a while. Like, it's just, honestly, it's not a super sustainable thing, because you would hate it and you would just dread getting up in the morning.
Yeah,
Unless you made it
it's
fun,
also,
if you make it a game or something
yeah.
like that. And speaking of creativity, anyone who's watching this on YouTube, look at Philomene's background, because she did that and it's insanely pretty. So did you draw it on your wall? Is that your
Yes.
wall?
Yeah, it's my wall. I painted it and then I drew on it. Well, actually, I'm lying. My dad painted it, and then I went with my markers and my paint, and I doodle all over it, and I sent it a picture. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you see, I'm 10 again, and I'm still doodling on my
I'm
wall.
10 again. So your dad painted the wall white, and you
So
made it pretty.
it's like a beige, but
Yeah.
he painted it, and then he went away, and then I scribbled everywhere.
And you fixed it.
Yeah, he wasn't upset. He said it was funny, so I'm happy.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, you just made it such a fun space. Such a
Yeah,
nice space to be in.
we have so we've got a very old house. It was built in like 1850. So it's been like renovated and everything. But it could also have this very old dark vibe if we weren't vigilant. So I was trying to be conscious about, like keeping the old vibe, but making it also, lively and creative and fun.
Right. Well, you need it to be a place. This is your office, I assume, and so you need it
Yeah,
to be a
it's my
place where you
workshop.
feel comfortable and
Yeah,
creative.
exactly, where everything can spark.
Absolutely. So, all right, and then so you touched on slow food really quickly, but talk to us about slow food, because I'm totally into this.
So there are a few principles. So going, I think, when we went towards zero waste, we started to make pretty much everything from scratch. It's been a journey, though. We started to make everything from scratch, but then we were still having the same food habits. So I was trying to make alternative of what we were buying, like, like cooking them. And then eventually we moved away from that.
Mm.
I did a few courses about food and like whole grain and, you know, all sorts of things. And then it kind of changed my vision of how to feed myself. I was also very much into like fermentation food. So I did also like experiment with that a bit. And so yeah, like everything added up, and basically now I guess we have a quite alternative way of eating. So we try to eat everything whole grain. So
Oh, it
that's
just tastes so much better.
so much better, and it's also more nutritious. Like you feel more filled, basically.
Yeah.
But it requires like organization, because like a lot of the grains you need to soak them the night before and things like that. It doesn't take necessarily much more time, because I soak them at night and then the next day I put them on cooking and then I go do something else,
Yeah.
which is
You just have to
okay.
plan ahead.
Yeah, it's the organization that needs to be a bit more, you know. But I have options. If I'm late, that happens. I have, you know, like other ways of cooking, like quinoa is like a last minute thing. And so I have like the regular you know, food that take a long time, and the ideal food, and then there's the reality sometimes when it's like, well, let's wrap up something in 15 minutes. And another thing that we tried to reduce was sugar. I think I had a big dependency on sugar. Let's be honest. I loved sugar for a
Oh, I
long time.
100% have that.
Yeah, so it was tough for me. It was really tough. But then my husband started to have a pre-diabetes type 2. So it's not that bad, you know. It's like something that he has, and you know, you have to be vigilant, because it can go full diabetes, but then if you're vigilant, it can stay in the pre-stage forever. So
Right.
so that's something that, you know, I took into heart a lot, and I thought, okay, well, we have to be careful. And that's also when I really tried to look into whole grain and reduce sugar and be more careful. I guess I was a bit old already because of the kids, because I didn't want them to grow in so much sugar as I did.
Sure.
But then that definitely took me to the next stage of like, okay, like what are the alternative?
Right. Well, and so whole grains, Philomene, they taste better and they're better for you, but part of why they're better for you is they take longer to process, right, in the body.
Yeah,
And so
they're
that's
not
really,
fast
really
sugar.
good.
Yeah, so not fast sugar. The body, like it just takes time for it to process it, to break down the protein, the fibers, and everything. So yeah, definitely. And I can tell the difference now, because our food is so much whole grain that, you know, when we go out, we don't pay attention to what we eat. We just have regular food. And then if I have regular pasta, I can tell, like I get the rush straight away afterwards, and then I feel a bit low a bit later
Oh,
on. So
yeah.
you do notice differences once it's in, you know, a regular way for everything. Actually, once you change your habits, then you start to notice whatever you were doing before, like the changes.
Gotcha. All right. What else did I want to talk to you about? So I love that whole slow food movement thing. I mean, there's a lot of talk of that here in the States as well. I follow a slow food Instagram page, and it's just, you know, it's so inspiring, and I love I love feeling like I'm kind of a rebel in that, because we're so we've been accustomed to the convenience, and so slow food, it feels like a big change, but it's really not. I mean, I haven't bought cake mix in years, and I have everything here. Like, what's the, you know, you buy a cake mix, you still have to put eggs and oil and stuff in it, so why not just use flour and, you know,
You
flour
know,
and cocoa powder.
at some point, when the kids were younger, I was making the premix. So I had jars and I was making like all the mixes, and then I needed to
Oh,
just add eggs and oil, and then there was like my pre-made mix.
yeah.
instantly.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to pay the price of and the packaging, so it was all working out.
Right.
But
We do
yeah,
that for
it's just
pancake mix. I do that for
yeah, it's
pancakes.
you can do it for a lot of things. Like once we went on holidays and I had planned all the meals like that. I had put the risotto jars with like all the dried mushrooms and everything. I had planned everything. I think, yeah, my husband was probably a bit scared about it. Like, he was like, what? That's just so weird. You've just prepared everything dried. I was like, well, you'll see. You'll see. Like, then we're on holidays and you just relax. You just add water and that's it. You let it cook.
Absolutely. That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, there are ways to save time. And then there are also other options that don't necessarily take a lot of time to cook. And then what I do is usually when I have time and when also I have the produce, like during the summer and things like that, when I harvest a lot, I try to make a lot of things. So like I will fermentate a lot of food then, and then all of these are like options for the winter and I don't need to do anything. So I can't count how many winters lunches we've had when it was like rice and then an egg, and then we would just open a jar of sauerkraut that I had made like the previous summer, or and then it's just like an easy option. It's just ready. It's full of nutrients and probiotics and everything. So all working out.
Right. Absolutely. And the egg adds your protein. It's true. Yeah. I mean, it's so smart. And fermentation I'm new to. I have my first batch of kombucha in the fridge
Oh,
right
cool.
now that I got from Allison, who I interviewed last year.
That's great. Well, yeah, fermentation is like a whole new world of like live food. I'm so into it. I don't know. I have like kefir. I do my vinegar. I do sourdough, and then all the vegetables. Like so many ways to do. Yeah, actually, in the recipes I've prepared for you, there's the ketchup recipes like fermented.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, I'm so excited
No,
for that now.
yeah, and it's so easy.
Yay! Well, yeah, let's mention that too, because you are offering a freebie, which is super fun. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, I guess it goes in the slow food kind of mentality. It's I've just put together 4 recipes that are very easy to make, require minimal ingredients, and also that can help you reduce waste, because they are for like sauces that we buy in plastic containers usually. So I've put the ketchup recipes, which is like a fermentation recipe, but it takes a bit more time, but not to make it actually, just because the fermentation takes like 3 weeks. So you do a first step and then you have a 5-minute steps afterwards to finish it off. I've put my mustard recipe, my mayonnaise recipe, and my salad dressing. So these last 3 are like very traditional recipes in France. But again, very easy, they take no time, and they're so tasty. So
That's awesome.
I think, yeah. Well,
I'm
I
so
hope
excited about the ketchup now. I'm totally trying that. Yay. And
yeah.
you had told me, and so we were talking beforehand about that as well. And so I was saying that, so since we're talking about food, I love talking about food, that I've tried making mayonnaise before, and I'd made it for a while. My husband eats a lot of sandwiches, and so, mayonnaise is something that you just, if you're making it fresh, you have to make it often. Because you said it's like a 3-day, it's good for about 3 days.
It depends on how fresh the eggs are. But yeah, it don't last very long because it's raw egg. It's raw yolk, basically. So yeah, I would say between and with the heat as well. I don't know how it is for you, but in here it's so hot. Like right now, if you take the mayonnaise out for like a lunch, you probably can't put it back in the fridge because it's just too hot. But then like in regular weather, I would say like 2-3 days probably. You can smell, like usually, food is if you can smell, then usually
it's it's done.
It gives you a hint.
Right. It tells you. But so I was saying that I've made mayonnaise before. I made it for a little while. Sometimes it comes out loose, but you were saying that it's probably like a oh, words, Amy.
Yeah, it's a proportion thing, or the
Yes.
oil. There's a trick for the mayonnaise to work. One is the mustard amount needs to be the same amount or plus. It can be more, but it shouldn't be less than the amount of egg yolk. So if you're following a recipe, usually it would say like 1 teaspoon of mustard or something. And then if your egg is like a bigger egg and then your yolk is bigger, then it should be more mustard. That's a key. And then you mix that well. And then the second key to succeed your mayonnaise is that you need to go very slowly with the oil whilst you whisk it. And you add the speed to your whisk as you pour the oil, but it needs to be like a slow drip as you pour in. Because if you go too fast, then the emulsion doesn't pick up, and it's just like the oil and the egg separate.
You know, that's probably where I messed up. I mean, I probably didn't add enough mustard also, but it's probably just, I feel like I almost put the oil in first and then put the blender in. Oh no, don't do that.
No. No, because you're basically creating an emulsion, so it needs to add up, you know, to build up as you do it. It's like a chemical reaction, I guess.
Wow, that's good information. I will remember that now.
Well, try it and let me know.
I think it's all just like convenience and instant gratification for at least Americans. I think, you know, everything. If your oil's not going to end up there, just put it there, you know, and not just drizzle it in. But or that's my mindset anyway. It's going to end up there. I might as well just put it. But well, thank you so much. I feel like
in this instance, it makes a difference. For a lot of other things, I just pour everything together.
Right. I learned a big lesson today already. Many lessons, but this was a big one because I could not figure out why sometimes it was loose. And I'm sure that was it now. Is there anything else that I needed to touch on that I neglected to? Because I mean, we talked about slow food. We talked about your podcast. But so your newsletter that you're putting out, or that you are. How does someone find that? You sent a link, right?
So I've sent you a link, but also if you go on creativity-to-change-everything.com, then it will redirect you. At some point I will figure that out, but for now I've just redirected it to the French website, and it should be all translated in English. And then there's a link where you can find the free recipes. It just says on the menu, free zero waste recipes, I believe. Then you click on there, and then you can download the guide, and then you can subscribe. You can either subscribe, if you download the guide, then you will subscribe to the newsletter. And then if you want not to just go for the newsletter, then there's also a link there, and then you don't get the recipes. My newsletter is like basically about once a week, and I touch on similar subject to my podcast, like so that will be mainly, you know, like slowing down your rhythm, feeling in touch with yourself, taking care of yourself. I also put quite a strong importance in really making a positive impact in others' life and elders' life also, because it's a dear subject of mine. But yeah, I'm like trying to be more sustainable, like thinking of the actions, reducing like the meat inputs that you have in your diet. That's something I touch on as well, because I know my audience can struggle with that. Like reducing meat can be difficult. I understand. I've been there as well. So I try to share what I've done on that subject. And also I give like recipes or just like ideas of what to do to be creative and just, you know, like take a break and just do something fun for you. And and also do something fun, but keep in mind your impact on the environment. So like the activities I suggest are like mindful of the environment as well.
I think it would also be fun, and maybe you did this. I haven't, because your Instagram is in French. I can't read it a lot, but
No, I'm
if you
planning to
did like
translate.
tips here and there to like something to try to add some creativity to what you're doing, like that would be really fun because you are super. It just pours through you, the creativity. It's beautiful, but some of us are lacking in that area. I'm pointing at myself, and maybe need some pointers or some direction in that.
Of
But
small things that,
yeah. But like, I
yeah.
mean, just like the way that you talk so much about appreciation and respect for what's around you. I think that's a really big one. That's a big one for me. I think I was telling you that's something that I'm working on, to just find awe in the world around me and in my life, and to appreciate what is around me. But I think that you do that naturally, and I think
I
that
don't know if it's natural. I think it's something I also learned to do. Journaling really helped me with that. Like to put like to sit down and look at what I'm really grateful for, like every day, and that did help. And then, you know, after a while of practicing that, then you go outside and you can see the gratitude like straight away. But it's something that you learn. I don't think it was instinctive. Well,
okay.
I don't think so. It's the practice of.
Okay, it seems very natural right now, at least. I guess it's because you've been working really hard on it.
Yeah,
working for a long time.
Yeah, when you make sure you show up and you do it, then eventually it becomes a habit, and then eventually it's natural. But no, I don't think it was very natural at some point. Like, you know, when I was living in Paris or in London, I don't think I was very grateful at all. It was a different lifestyle, different life completely. But yeah, it's just the past, like it leads you some, you know. But yeah, now I do try to be amazed at, you know, everything, like every single moment, with the people I'm with the nature, with what I see, with the wildlife. There's so much to be amazed, you know, at, and it's great. And the journaling also help you when you look back at it. It's great because you can see like how much you've progressed, and like where you used to put your you know, attention before, and how it's shifted. And it's also very interesting.
Right. You made a really great point with me. We were talking about gardening, and we were talking about groundhogs and hedgehogs and such. And I was telling you how frustrated I am because we have groundhogs, and we have a mama groundhog that had 4 babies, and I'm concerned about my plants. And you had said, just plant more, like let them have some. And that's kind of what I've been looking for someone to say that exactly, because I want to just coexist with everyone, but I want them to leave me something to eat, so I can say I grew this and this is my food.
So yeah, I guess there's 2 things for me. Like one is like, really, the first of all is to lower my expectation. Like I don't expect to harvest any quantity. I plant and then we'll see what comes out. And then, so that's something also, it wasn't natural, you know, I learned to get to there. But now I also think, okay, I'm going to plant more. And then sometimes I harvest tons because of that. And sometimes I harvest just enough. But yeah, the way, like, if you plant more, then there's enough for everyone. And then I feel like, you know, because it's funny if you think about it, like the animals that live in your yard, they're not going to be like, oh yeah, it's her yard. No, it's not our vegetables. They're not, you know, they're just like, yeah, there's food. let's help ourselves. And then I think, okay, well, I'm the one, like putting those plants in, but then the earth is not mine, so we can all.
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
We're living on the earth. It's not my earth, but
No. So I plant things, and then they help themselves. And then also I was mentioning to you early on, we do try to apply the permaculture in our yard, and
that was the other thing I wanted to touch on, and I forgot.
Yeah,
so thank you.
It's so the fact that we've set up like a big ecosystem that all works together. It kind of creates a balance in the yard, and that means that usually the animals don't eat everything, because they have enough. They have other options, because they have also the wildflowers, they have other plants that grew naturally, they have the trees, they have the pond where they will find insects, and there's like all the different things that are there that creates the balance. And then in the end, turns out it's fine. And like, really, when I plant more, sometimes I end up being like under the zucchinis, like, because I've just planted so much and nobody else apart from us ate them.
Right. Well, and then they're green, so they just blend in, and you don't see them until it's too late, and then they get really big.
Well, and also my kids at some point are just like, we don't want zucchinis anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, at the end of the summer. Last year it was the tomatoes. Like at the end of the summer, they were just like, oh, please no tomatoes anymore.
Don't make me eat tomatoes. Not fresh tomatoes, Mom.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But so you were saying, the point that you made with me was that, and we were talking about, so if your permaculture, your ecosystem, nature takes care of itself. And that was a really big point for me to understand as well.
It's trusting the system. Like, it's trusting that everything will come together. And it can be tough. It can be tough, like every year at the beginning of the summer, like, or end of springtime, there are like aphids on my beans. There are like all sorts of small insects that do a lot of damage on the vegetables. And every single year it's like, oh no, like there's like a plant that will die, for example, a kale plant or something, and it's really stressful. And it's like, okay, so what's happening now? And then eventually it happens. Like a week later, you see the ladybugs coming in an army, like taking over, eating them like in a day. They're like machines. They eat so much aphids. It's great.
It's great. Yeah.
Well, it feels great. I mean, too bad for the aphids. My youngest son, he has a lot of empathy for the aphids. So he's like, they're so mean. They ate them all.
That's so
but
sweet.
I'm like, oh no, it's great. It's it's
that means we get to eat.
Yes. But yeah, it's trusting that it takes time, and it can be stressful, and we need to be patient, but we need to trust that the ecosystem is going to kick in and then work.
Yes. And that is it's sort of, at least for me, it's been sort of like going against everything that I've it's like unlearning what I've learned in my life, that everything just comes, or if you put in the work, it's going to come out perfectly. And sometimes it's not perfect, but sometimes it's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I think in the garden or everywhere else, the same. Like sometimes you put the work into it and you don't get the success you expected, but then you do some tweaks, you learn from it, you try something else. It's all an experiment. You're going to try something else. You're going to put I was mentioning to you earlier, we had some really issues with snails and slugs the first couple of years we moved here, and they were eating everything, and it was so devastating. And And we actually, you know, embraced the permaculture at the time. So we started to put like woods, leftover wood, and like all sorts of things. I started to do a surface compost. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's like basically instead of putting your leftover vegetables in your regular compost, you just put it on the floor of your yard, like where you grow your vegetables. And then this way, it's really clever, and it works brilliantly. This way the slugs that just come in, and because slugs, they don't like fresh vegetables, they just eat that because there's nothing else. But really what they want is like something that is a bit, you know, garbagey vegetables, like something that
it's already broken down.
Yeah, it's already
slimy.
broken down. So if you put your compost on the surface, then they will go in that, like eat that instead of your fresh vegetables.
Oh.
That was so clever. And it really worked. So we started to do all of that, and because by the wood also needs to be decomposed a bit before it works. So the first year it wasn't so efficient. So we did all these steps, and it really worked. And then that's it. And now no snails, no slugs. Or I have a few, but then the chickens are happy about that. So.
Oh my gosh, surface compost! I just wrote that down. That's gonna be my new thing. Very cool. I know that about the broken down foods because I have a worm compost in my house. So no carrots. They don't like carrots because they're too hard to process. Because they like them to be broken down as well.
Yeah.
So they love the old cucumber slices. Like when you only use half of a cucumber, I slice off a slice of it, and then the rest of it is fresh, and they love that slimy old outside one.
Oh yeah, because it's easier it's full of water, I guess. So
right. Yeah. That's excellent. Oh my gosh. This is just like full of wisdom, Philomene. Oh my goodness. I love this. I love it so much. Thank you so much for being here. So I do need to ask you what the word sustainability means to you.
So that's a tough one for me. I guess it's having a low impact on the earth, like trying to not use so much, I guess. Trying to, or like also, I think it would be okay to use some of it, but then it has to be given back. It has to be a virtuous circle. Like to me, sustainable is not something that is just using, it's something that gets back. It's like, I don't know.
No, but, that's so perfect. It's like it's a circle.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's okay to consume something, but you need to give it back.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. And then I just to wrap things up, how can people find you or follow you? I know you're on Instagram, but you also have your newsletter and website.
Yeah, my website. creativity-to-change-everything.com. The Instagram, it's linked on the website as well. At the moment, it's all in French. I'm considering translating as well, or maybe doing a second one might be easier, actually, just in English, because I write a lot. Well, I'm talkative, so I write a lot, I talk a lot. So maybe I'll do a different one. So let me know if you want to follow me on Instagram, you know, drop me an email, and then that will motivate me to do a second one in English.
If the demand is there.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really want to translate everything. Like, I don't know, it doesn't take much time, but it's still something that I need to do on top of it. So if no one reads it, then.
Wow. But, is there like some sort of, I don't know, button you can click to say, just translate everything? And then it'd be really cool if your newsletter was like, you know, in French, and then you were able to just add in the English for the people that don't speak French.
No, so my newsletter is going to be all translated. So it's funny because I don't really say exactly the same thing in French and English. The message is going to be the same. I'm the same person, but I tend to phrase things differently. I don't know why, but someone suggested that, like, just do a translation button on your website and it's going to be automatic. And I was like, no, because I don't think I would express things the same way. So I'd rather translate it. And in Instagram, it couldn't really work because I don't know if you've seen, but I do a lot of, you know, carousels and like also reels, and I write in them. So it
They're
would be
so
tricky
beautiful.
to translate.
They're
Thank you.
beautiful.
But yeah, it wouldn't work. Like, I think it needs to be done like fully in both languages. My previous business was all bilingual, so I'm okay. I can do that again. And yeah, I'm also putting together. So at the moment it's only in French, but a membership to you know, take things further with me, and like so I can help people take all these steps in their lives as well, and like show them how to be really creative and have fun with their sustainable life.
Right? Oh my goodness. So folks, if you can follow, even whether you speak French or not, follow her on Instagram, because her posts are so like graceful and beautiful, and it just is so, it's just like this breath of fresh air. Like you know, you see all this activity and everything, and then Philomene's posts are just like this slowdown, and it's exactly it like tells me so much of who you are, and it reflects that so much. And I don't speak French, but I love, you know, I just love the way that I feel, whether I speak it or understand it or not, is enough for me right now.
Oh, thank
Like,
you.
just to be like, you know, you're like, oh, that's really nice. You know, it's like a
Well,
sigh.
yeah, well, I'm very glad it comes across this way, because that's really what I'm aiming for. I'm really trying to have a positive impact in the world, like to impact, yeah, to have, you know, to inspire people to take good actions and be good with themselves and be good with others. So I'm glad it transpires.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so grateful for your message, and I love everything about it. I want to join your membership. I need that slowdown. I want that in my life. But thank you again
Okay.
for so
Well,
much for being here. I'm
thank you
looking
for
forward
having
to
me.
checking out your podcast.
Yes. So yeah, in French for now, though.
Yeah,
but
I can still listen.
but yeah, you can absolutely. And again, I don't speak fast, so.
Wonderful.
Well,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you.